I am sure at this point most people have seen the numbers as they try to empirically make sense of what it is just happened after a season of basketball. Changing of the guard from Durant and LeBron and now Tatum and the Greek Freak and everybody else have to go through a creature, unlike Jimmy Butler, who every single game gives you the same thing so joylessly that he's the first player ever to lead the entire playoffs in points, rebounds, and assists. It's never happened before.
And yawns.
And you say yawns for you. I say yawns for him because I'm telling you, the single most fascinating thing to me about all of it, even when faced with an unprecedented player, is his reaction to it afterward as they kept going back to his homeland. And I think a Serbian cafeteria of some sort. I don't even know what it was, but it was a smattering of people that were in the home country. That Jokic just won the championship, and his immediate reaction is, when the hell can I get home? I am so done with the domination of this league. Please get me home. I don't want to do a parade. Just get me home. I'm tired of work.
You said after the Lakers win, you said you were surprised that you didn't feel more. So I'm curious what you are feeling right now, and if you're looking forward to a parade coming up in Denver.
When is parade?
Yeah.
When is parade?
Thursday.
No. I need to go home. Okay.
He actually ran his hand through his forehead and hair in a frustration that he has to stay in this country for 2 more days, probably because of what Mike was just near. He wants back to his country is safer. It's just better.
Dan, we've all been there. You're out with your friends. Your buddy said, I'll drive you home. I'll drive you home. It's getting late. You know your mom's going to kill you. And say, hey, we're going to go to one more spot. And then we're going to like, oh, guys, I got to get home. I got to go home.
So that feeling is what you felt like winning a championship? Like I enjoyed watching the Nuggets be normal and celebrate a lifetime achievement and like a franchise's achievement. And every time the camera went to Jokic, I was like, pretend to be happy for me, please.
Seriously, 56 years.
It's a first time ever after one of these championships that you can't go to the cliche, well, he just wanted it more.
You buzzsawed right through.
He wanted nothing to do with it.
In 5 games, you buzzsawed through, wanted it more, and left in tatters the reputation of Jimmy Butler. Just sliced it up because they needed something from Jimmy in that game. It was there for the taking. That is the best that all of them can be defended. The Heat just did the championship job that you have to do to Denver, and the wheels came off of Jimmy at the end. I mean, they just came off. It's jumping into the paint. I want to assist. I don't want to keep jumping into this giant person.
He actually played well at the end.
I mean, what? Stugotz, whatever.
It's a little late for it, but he made it a game. I mean,
the greatest testament to this 44-win team being in the finals was that they almost won an NBA Finals game shooting 35% from the field. That is insane. But to the Jokic point, that sound goes on, and like that's the soundbite that's going to live forever, that everyone's going to joke about. It's very funny. But he goes on and says basically, this is not the most important thing in my life. Like, this is nice. I've won it now, but I'm not. This is not life-changing for me. And he says, and this is my favorite line. He says, I mean, everyone hates their job, right? And at that moment, I realized, holy, he not only doesn't want it more than you, he doesn't want it at all.
The reluctant goat.
The Miami Heat just lost to a team that went 5 for 28 from 3.
Yeah, they're going to be kicking themselves, I'm sure, because Denver, that was not a championship winning performance. They were kind of dying to give that game away, and that game could have been totally stolen by Miami and extended, and you don't know what happens when that team that's never been there before has to face a Game 6 on the road, and maybe you have a change in momentum. But I wasn't – I mean, I'm certainly impressed with Jokic for my mind, and keep in mind, I've only watched him for 5 games, but he's the best big man I've ever seen.
I totally disagree with you. I thought Denver took an extension cord and wrapped it around the Heat's neck and just tightened it. The Heat could not find find an opening to get shots off. And you say, oh, we don't know if a team was never been there before. What happens in that situation? They blew the lead. They went down one, and then they made every play. They not only made every defensive play, they made the shots. Michael Porter Jr. couldn't hit a shot, save his life, hit the big one. KCP couldn't hit a shot, save his life,
that was not a great Denver game,
But it wasn't. It
No.
wasn't.
Good.
But when you say, oh, we don't know how they reacted in that situation, we saw how they reacted at the end of Game 5. They could have collapsed very easily. Instead, they made all the right plays, and the biggest play of them all, Bruce Brown,
Yes, again
offensive
on
rebound.
Strus.
Huge.
Again on
Again on
Strus.
Strus.
The
Ball
Derek
watching.
White thing, it was Strus watching, and also Strus missing the corner three that he had that was wide open. Regardless, we can get to the details of the game. Denver was better clearly, and their best player is an immortal. Is putting up numbers that are insane, and Miami did, through great deal of want and hustle, slowed him as best can be slowed. I don't want to lose sight of the fact that somebody who's not from America just won the big American trophy and doesn't want to spend 2 more days here to drink and enjoy the festivities. Every game we asked him, hey, this stat line, we've never seen it before. How do you feel about that? And his answer is like, whatever.
Yeah.
Like, whatever. Yeah, okay.
I mean, look at how he approaches spraying champagne.
Joylessly.
Everything is joyless about that guy. And I think there's plenty of time to sing his praises, and I do. But I do want to buck up against something that Amin said when he said that the shots weren't there.
Come on.
There was a recipe for Miami to beat them. And I, for the life of me, don't understand how the shots were there at the rim for Max Strus and Duncan Robinson, but they weren't there for someone who historically lives at the line, who didn't even look to go up. There was one late turnover where he pivoted, and he had Bam wide open. He was so in his own head. It should be noted that he probably did the lying thing after the postgame where he said his ankle is totally fine. I hope to God
He did.
he is lying about that.
But Mike,
because if that was a mental thing, that changes the prism that we view one of the great playoff performers forever.
Yeah, but he's so hard to get upset at, Jimmy Butler, because you're not playing in the NBA Finals. You're not in that situation without Jimmy Butler. It's very confusing as to what we do with this postseason run.
Stugotz, they played their best stretch of ball with him off the floor.
Mike, I understand that, but he's the reason you're in that spot in the first place. He had legendary games.
And not only that, Stugotz, he's the reason you're in that spot at the end of the game because he reached a point where he said, oh, bleep, we're going to lose if I don't do something. And he starts hitting threes. He gets to the free throw line. He gets those 3 free throws in the corner. He hits that short jumper to put them up 1. He started to do the same thing he did in Game 6 against the Celtics, which is play like crap for 3.5 quarters and then turn it on and try to pull it out.
But I mean, isn't the oh bleep, we're going to lose this thing moment in Game 3?
Oh, I mean, sure.
Game 4. I mean, and we got to address the Zeller minute. Because Spoelstra was trying to protect the legs of that closing lineup, and he made the biggest mistake. This is a guy that didn't want to bring in Tyler Hero cold. So what does he do? Bring in Cody Zeller cold, and they, to the tune of a -5 differential in a game that the point differential was 5. The game was arguable. I know there were moments that they could have executed down the stretch that they didn't, but you could point to that 61-second stretch and say that decision by Spo ultimately was too much to overcome.
Look, it was not a good one. The other question I asked after every game since Game 2, Game 3, Game 4, and Game 5. Why isn't Highsmith playing? He was one of their best players in the first 2 games, and then all of a sudden, out of the rotation completely.
I need to stop all of you, though, because I'm not going to watch what I watched from Jokic and have you tell me how Highsmith was going to change what happened.
Jokic was bored by Jokic.
But before you just go down this path and we go into the minutia of all the ways the game was lost at the end when the Heat are supposed to be good in close games, and Kyle Lowry does that against Aaron Gordon because they're suffocated, where Aaron Gordon is just throwing the ball right back into his mouth because that's what they get at the end of a shot clock. I don't want to do it about the single game. That's what Denver did to the Heat offensively in the games that made a championship defensive effort not be good enough because their offense wasn't good enough, and let's say it, because Jimmy Butler was not good enough. The MVP was playing in those games. The MVP was consistently better than the Heat's best player, and Denver now celebrates with a parade Jokic doesn't want to go to.
So what Mike said was, how is it that Max Strus and Duncan Robinson can get these layups? and Jimmy Butler and Bam can't. There's an element of this is because Denver allowed that to happen. They said, we'll let these guys do that. We're not letting that SOB do what he did to Boston, what he did to New York, and what he did to Milwaukee. And again, kudos to a defense that was middle of the road during the regular season, becoming airtight as the playoffs rolled on, and they got deeper and deeper in the playoffs. They got better and better defensively. We keep wanting to blame Jimmy and blame Spo and blame the Heat and blame the shooters, but there's a part of this where Denver, for the first 2 games, didn't guard anybody. One game, they dodged the bullet because the Heat missed everything. The other game, they didn't. But 3, 4, and 5, they said, enough, and that was it.
Even when they weren't guarding anybody, Jimmy still wasn't going to the line. They had a game in which they had 2 free throws. And I understand what you're saying, and I admit Denver did turn on the defense. They were certainly a better team than they showed in the regular season. Jokic, as great as he is, isn't the inside defensive force that Brook Lopez was. Isn't what Robert Williams is inside. Jimmy Butler had no problem attacking. And you saw there were plenty of moments, be it the pick 6 at the end of the game, the hesitation to even go to a pump fake. Yeah. He was in his own head. Was he in his own head because he didn't trust his body? I don't know. But you said, we all saw it like, oh, God, here comes a Jimmy takeover. And we were all wondering, what took so long?
May I stop you guys just for a second? Because I thought to myself, when he got the 3 free throws on the 3, I'm like, man, he got up for that jump shot.
Terrible call.
Holy crap.
I know, but I'm like,
Terrible
no, but
call,
I'm
Bob.
like, okay, terrible call or no terrible call. I'm simply saying, well, those seem to be legs. Like, if we're going to say he doesn't have his legs for his jump shot,
Had him there.
those seem to be legs. But what I don't want to do today, I really don't think it's fair. I think it's dumb to take what the Miami Heat did and then to find all the ways to blame them, find all the ways to rip them, find all the ways to have them not be good enough when they weren't good enough. The reason it was such a celebration is because they somehow surprised us all, because we all knew they weren't good enough. And we're like, how the hell are they staying in some of these games? How are they winning these games? I don't want to turn this into a blame fest.
We're just blaming Spo in the 61 seconds of Zeller. I mean, that's it.
And no Highsmith.
There shouldn't be any blame. The Heat had a fantastic postseason run, and they lost to a clearly better team, and even Spo said that after the game.
This is
They had no
improved Dan Le Batard
they
Show
had
with
no
the Stugotz.
solution
Gamble on
for
by
Denver.
DraftKings.
You know, I mean, he
Stugotz, you know, right? Because Jokic was drafted 41st, people have pointed out that the draft was on a Taco Bell commercial when he was drafted. And then when he signed his extension, ESPN didn't actually show his highlights. They were showing the Portland center, Nurkic, his highlight to announce they were showing the wrong guy. The idea that that guy would dominate the sport as an immortal, where we're all like, oh, my God, okay, so that's the modern-day Wilt Chamberlain combined with, passing skills we've never seen before. You feel like you sort of shut him down yesterday, and he's still, dominating the game in every way.
He was 12 of 16.
On top of that, you have, honestly, a joyousness that should be so easy to sell in this. His brothers are so happy for him, kissing him all over the head whenever he wins, including that giant brother who picked him up after the game because he's big brother to little brother and is carrying him around even though he's 300 pounds.
They were carrying around Michael Malone. It was great.
Are the brothers his expression of joy? That's like the Jokic family happy comes from the angriest.
And his wife, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
It is, and his child. It is a beautiful story. Like him, the story, the tapestry you could weave around this guy if he wanted it woven. But he doesn't.
He wants to go home.
He doesn't want stardom. He wants to buy horses. Kevin Durant says he just wants to FaceTime with his horses. He's basically breaking the salary cap in the celebration by saying, hey, my owner needs to get me a private plane so I can get home because I don't want to go to the parade and work for 2 more days. I did not know that he hated his job.
Yes, and we're all the annoying coworkers that keep asking him if he's coming to happy hour. That's what we are.
Because all of us are looking at it as lover of sport and being like, man, I wish I could dominate like that. I think I would enjoy the holy hell out of it. How is it that he just wants to get on the first plane back home like it's a business assignment?
Hey, Nikola, we have some cake in the break room. We're all getting together for Jan today.
But we're so used to this thing being a massive relief for certain people, happiness and relief. Michael Jordan, Kobe Bryant, it meant something to them. Giannis, it meant something to him. I don't like that this didn't mean that much to Jokic. I don't.
He doesn't follow the media stream. Like, he has no idea exactly how much this is meaning to you. Because that's what LeBron was dealing with. That's what Durant was dealing with. They subscribed to all this stuff.
Right.
They felt every single bit of that pressure, where Jokic doesn't have social media, cares only about his horses, and so he played it carefree. So I genuinely think he doesn't really understand or grasp the legacy play that was just made by him.
I love the world where Jokic is just like, I just care about horses. And they're like, hey, honey, what do you want for dinner tonight? Just shut up. Let me just think about my horses. Horses is what I care about.
What do you get from FaceTiming a horse? Seriously, what does the horse give back in that exchange?
A long face.
Good contribution, Cody.
So let me get something straight. So he likes horses. Do we think that Jokic can ride a horse? Do you think there's a horse big enough?
He can't ride a horse.
Yes, he can. We've seen video of it.
Really?
You
That
don't
is a
think
monster horse.
You don't think a horse can handle?
No, there's like weight limits on horses. A lot of horses, like if you weigh over 200 pounds, you can't ride this horse.
I mean, did you see the inbound play that took like forever to actually hand the ball to Miami, where Jokic just put all his weight on top of Bam? It was a 90-degree angle, and Jokic at the inbound is putting all 400 pounds on Bam's back. Bam has to battle with that inside.
This is one of the things I made, one of the points I made in the post game yesterday. I was so incensed about Bam twice. Got under Jokic's skin to the point where Jokic retaliated with a wild elbow. And rather than do the thing that every single NBA season of our lives has taught us, which is if someone does that, you act like you got shot. Bam just shrugged and looked for a ref. What are you doing? What are you doing? You could have got him kicked out if you acted well enough.
I want to go back to Billy's point because there's no actual pictures of Jokic on a horse. He's on a harness. He does harness racing.
Yeah, like Greg. It looks like he's a harness
right.
racer. Like
Yeah.
it's just a little. It pulls him.
Right.
He's
So the
he's a big guy.
Yeah.
He's
Cart's
double the
doing all
size of
the
the horse. Like he's standing next to the horse, and it's at his navel.
The horse is riding him.
I have a question for me that I was wondering.
Just to be clear, though, your contribution before that is Jokic is a big guy.
Me? Yeah, it's a fact, Jack.
It's huge, actually.
right.
Not big. It's huge.
It's a good point, Billy.
Yep.
I have a question for Amin because I've always kind of wondered this. I was wondering it last night. I was actually texting people during the game saying Denver's not going to win today because of this factor. Horrible jerseys to win a championship in. It was one of the worst uniforms that you could win a championship in. And I'm wondering, because you worked for a front office, is there like a thought process that goes into it? Because I also thought in 2006 when the Heat won their first championship, I was like, they shouldn't be winning this championship in the red jerseys. I didn't like it. I feel like you have to know the moment is going to live on forever, and you have to go out there looking your best. And that was not those jerseys last night. I thought that those jerseys were the worst jerseys that a team could win their first championship in.
That's their home whites that they wore yesterday.
I didn't like them.
They wanted Denver on the front. They don't have a good uni set. They really don't.
No, they don't.
The mile
Never
high,
have.
the blue mile high. What? Never have.
Yeah.
Rainbows?
Oh, the
Right.
No,
rainbows
back in
and
the day.
and the
I didn't
powder
like
blues.
those. Yeah, I didn't like those. They look
I
like
like
softball
Rainbows are
uniforms.
sick. You need to go down the road. You got a problem with the rainbows.
I like the powder blues there. I also like to think of what it is that was just pointed out there by everybody, just everybody, both the size of Jokic and
He's big, Dan.
Yeah, you mentioned that. And also him leaning on Bam and feeling like he's got about 100 pounds of him. And I want you just all to imagine, all of you, as we talk about connecting to social media and why you might not think that your job is fun. Greg Cote now laughing because he's delighted that the photo of him at the back, he's going to cough and laugh and just be self-absorbed, interrupt everything I'm saying, just laughing and staring at
Yeah,
himself.
It's a good memory. I won that race.
There's a photo of Greg harness racing right now. It's actually built to scale because it's a tiny horse, and I imagine that's kind of like what Jokic would look like
Right.
harness racing
That's
a horse.
correct.
Are those the shoes that got buried in the shoe knurl?
They were, actually.
Huh.
Yes.
Wow, sorry to bring that up today.
Yeah.
R.I.P.
I feel bad.
Imagine
now.
if those shoes came back to life, Dan.
Imagine that you're Bam Adebayo and you have that, just all of that is better than you, draped on you at the end of what must be a true exhaustion, and you just look over to your left and what you see is front office type of mean being like this. Do better. Bam, you need to play. Bam, you need to play better than that guy who's better than you, and is just and you're doing an amazing job of defending him, even though he's got 1,000 pounds on you. However, do better, and you wonder why they might hate their work.
That's a fair point by you, and I'll concede that. What about when he has Jamal Murray on a switch and he throws it to Kyle Lowry on the bench?
Just one play.
To be fair,
Post-traumatic stress disorder, I would say, from just having yoga. Like
That's why you don't wear the same color warm-ups as your uniforms.
Listen to me. If I want you to be honest here, the world is watching and a guy is better than you, and you go to sleep at night and you're thinking about him leading on you, and he's going to hit the ball with his elbow and it's going to roll around on the rim 7 times. He's going to win the MVP, and he doesn't even care that much. He just wants to get back to his horses.
Does anybody know the origin of Amin's hate for Bam?
Did you watch him?
He wants him to be.
He played fine.
He wants him to be athletically dominant against everybody. That's he wants.
Let's be honest. As much as we all love and appreciate Pat Riley, the roster is not constructed to compete with Jokic. Like, Bam is a small ball center, and Jokic is not that. And your answer to that is the Zeller minutes. Yeah. So, I actually think that Bam did as well as you can expect from a 6'9" athlete against that
going up against that.
Yes.
Right.
So
he had a good finals.
Couple things. I don't hate Bam.
A little bit.
You hate Idris.
Yes.
You don't call him by
I'm not
his
fond
name.
of Idris. I like Bam. I'm not fond of Idris, but it's more of a disappointment than it is a hatred. There's only one person in the NBA that I hate watching play. That's Duncan Robinson, because he looks terrified all the time, and I just don't like that jitteriness. I want him to be cool and just be own it. I'm a great shooter, but I digress. When it comes to Bam, Dominique, the issue wasn't. I thought defensively he played masterfully this series. Honestly, he did as great a job as you can do against such an unstoppable force.
Best a human can do, I would say,
Absolutely.
against that person. Anthony Davis wasn't able to do that.
Best a human can do at that size.
Anthony Davis was not able to do that.
Right. Correct.
Best a human can do at that size. I think there's a hot take here that instead of the Zeller minutes, Dedmon could have helped more.
Oh, for the love of God!
I know. Yeah, he could have. That's a big body.
He
wants Dedmon to lean on him.
He wants Dedmon to come to life like that Ecuadorian lady.
I'm just saying. What Fox said and what Dan has said earlier on is it was pretty obvious. I mean, the series ended in 5 games. It was pretty obvious that there was a huge mismatch here, physically, skill-wise, that they had the offensive skill set to break down what Miami did well defensively, and Miami was out of answers offensively because of whatever was going through Jimmy Butler here. I actually thought Kyle Lowry acquitted himself nicely. He's no longer my least favorite Heat player. He's second. That's because the Zeller minute.
You can't hate Zeller. That ain't his fault. That ain't his fault, man.
Cody Zeller. I never want to see him again. And thankfully, I won't. No. What team is out there saying, oh, we need that.
We need that minute.
We need that.
You're right, nobody.
His career is done.
Mike,
Mike Love playing well defensively. Why do we take him out?
Mike, that guy's got 2 mortgages that he's behind on both on. You can't kick him out the league just yet, man.
My JT needs a center.
He's an unrestricted free agent. I can't imagine the market for him right now.
No,
here's a market, selling insurance, or an actual market. He can work in an actual market.
In many ways, he is a restricted free agent because he's restricted to not playing in the NBA.
You say that, and he got more time in that than the questionable Tyler Hero.
He could have helped.
You say that, but I gotta try. No,
if he could have helped,
you gotta trust Spo because I'm telling you, those 61 seconds makes you revisit all of it.
Okay. They should have just played all different players.
You see what happens, though, Dan.
And they all would have had more success against Jokic.
That was a one moment in time where we all knew better than Eric Spoelstra.
No,
come on. There wasn't a single person when we came back from commercial that was like, oh, good call on Dedmon, on Cody Zeller. This is good. No, this is great. Every single one of us put both our hands on our head, try to pull out our hair and scream, no!
2 games ago, we loved the Zeller minutes, and Spo was the greatest coach in NBA history, right, Greg?
That's right.
Oh, yeah.
Like many of you, I missed the hard net workout. Now I no longer miss it.
Mm-hmm.
He is ruining it because he is staring scared the entirety of segments at the clock, even though we're 8 seconds in right now. He's always worried anytime the conversation comes to him, and he's not wrong here.
Thank you.
Anytime the conversation, anytime anyone asks for his opinion on anything, he is someone who is afflicted with post-traumatic stress disorder where he's skittish like someone who's come back from combat who hears firecrackers or kids playing with snap and pops, making noises over there.
That's correct.
I won't allow you to make this excuse for Greg Cote. Like, we sit here and we criticize athletes who have to change their game plan from week to week while chasing around other top athletes, hit shots, and watch a clock. And all we ask Greg Cote to do is say what he's thinking without talking past when the clock says 0-0. It ain't that hard. Let's not make excuses for him. Let's celebrate that he's achieved it, but it's not that hard.
Thank you. I've mastered it. You know?
Yeah, but you haven't, though, because now when you make it, it's not funny. Like because you successfully make it and you do so with things that aren't funny. And again, in your self-involvement, your unrelenting perpetual narcissism,
Right.
the show collapses with a dismount that's not funny, but you've successfully made it.
But technically, he's doing the thing we asked him to do.
Yeah,
you know?
he's doing it, and he's fitting. You're giving him a 1 second window.
I was going to say, forgive me for not coming up with something brilliantly funny in 1.4 seconds.
Please draft a soliloquy for us with 1.5 seconds left on the clock.
But he's got 12 minutes to prepare for it because he starts as soon as the segment
12 minutes? 10 years. 10 years.
He's had plenty of time to get good at maybe at the end of this I can nail it because I'm paying attention to the clock.
So I would, when I got to Baltimore, I kind of learned a new way to watch film with Ed Reed. He taught me how to prepare in a way that you can find out what the defense is going to do before they do it, or what the offense is going to do before they do it. You know what happened when we knew what they were going to do? We got a bleeping turnover. So Greg comes into this room every day and knows exactly what the opponent is going to do. They're going to run a dive with 1 second left. And somehow he manages to be in prevent defense every single time. Just one time. I want you to get in goal line and be ready to stop it. That's it. Just once.
I've been doing it all day. And you criticize me for it. I nailed the hard net workout.
That's not nailing it, though.
It's
Nailing
it.
Nailing it isn't just successfully stopping talking.
You're putting him in an impossible spot,
Thank
you
you,
guys.
Mike.
He
Yeah.
can't.
Seriously.
It doesn't matter the level
He's
of
got a
preparation.
second.
How is he going to illuminate with a second there?
Right.
Like, give him 7.
No. It's
Right.
not that hard, guys. So I think the problem is that Greg believes that it's him against the clock or it's him against Dan. No, it's us against the audience. You would like to provide something for them that is of value, and you think you've won because, I was watching the clock. No, what winning is, and I had this problem when the first time I got on First Take, I was like, you know what? I'm going to whoop Stephen A's ass. Wow. And then I realized, no, me and Stephen A are on the same team. While we are yelling, the point is not for me to undercut all of his arguments. The point is for us to have an engaging conversation for the 12-minute segment and then end somewhere that at the end, now it's time for me to dunk and win. And it seems like Greg is like, nope. You didn't get me. What you don't understand is you don't get no extra points for not getting them. We get extra points for ending on a chuckle.
You mean to tell me, Dominique Foxworth, you come in here and tell me you eviscerated my arguments? I've never heard something so preposterous in my life. I'm appalled. Now,
Was there spit on that microphone? It
oh,
sounded
I
unpleasant.
think you need Can you say Raja Nasarovic as like a vocal rangefinder?
going,
Because
yeah.
it just
Wasn't
sounded
your
like a meme.
best. Right.
Slava Medvedenko.
There you go. Now try it again.
Try the whole thing again.
Slava Medvedenko.
Try it again.
Keep working on it.
Now, I know this brother, Dominique Foxworth. He's a very, very intelligent brother. I follow him.
You got him
listen
down,
to his
man.
podcast all the time. But then he goes with Dan Le Batard and says that he's killing my arguments. My voice just
You
cracked.
sound so
I mean, in his defense, he
can't-
was in Denver last night, and he was like the first one here to. It's unbelievable this
I
run
was-
that he's been on.
I wasn't just in Denver. Like, I was on the floor interviewing all of these drunk people, reeking of champagne, except for Michael Malone, who was drinking beer. I'm not going to say what kind of beer it was
The
because
corporate sponsored beer.
yes,
He's a beer kind of guy, though.
he's a beer
Yeah.
kind of guy for sure. But it's one of those things where you'll never have an easier interview in your life. Everyone's open, everyone's emotional, everyone's happy,
Except for
everyone wants to
Jokic.
talk. Except for Jokic, who I didn't interview.
His brothers appeared. Did you ever catch up with them or no?
Yeah, so I don't know if you heard this story. I finally saw them here in Miami, and I saw the big one, and the big one is
That's all
truly
of them.
terrifying.
Is that the one whose tattoos move on his body?
Yes, that's the one. That's the
The one
one.
who picked up his little brother at the MVP, the unprecedented player, physically picked him up.
He picked up the whole team, Dan. Did you see he had Jeff Green under one arm and Ish Smith on his
He's
shoulders?
very strong.
They
yes.
threw Michael Malone up in the air.
Yes.
He still hasn't come back down yet.
I don't think he agreed to that. I think that's just something that was happening.
We'll ask him when he comes back from Mars or wherever he landed.
Do you know how rare it is to be able to sell the joyousness of brothers just kissing you all over the head physically in front of people when you've won? It should feel like joy more than I hate my job. He jumped into a pool with Jamal Murray. It should feel like joy more than the parade's what? In 2 days, I don't want to go.
Just wants to be on the harness behind his horse, Dan. Like, this is all a lot. So what did the brothers do when you saw them?
Oh, I mean, last night they didn't do anything because they were too busy being drunk and happy. But when they were here in Miami, like I definitely kept my distance. I love that Taylor sent Juju to go get them, and Juju took like 5 steps and wait a second, why am I doing this? And turned back. It's scary. I mean, truly, everything that all the old black men in Denver told me, whether it was Mark Spears or Jason Jackson or David Aldridge, everything they warned me about was absolutely true. Like, they are real and they are terrifying.
What did you guys make of Stan Kroenke's speech at the end of the game when he was being handed the Larry O'Brien trophy and he forgot how microphones work and he was just having a one-on-one conversation with Lisa Salters? What that was so creepy. That was
Kroenke.
He's actually won a lot of championships.
He's
recently.
a creepy champion. He has
He
got
is.
a bunch
He's
of
got that lecherous
teams.
mustache. And
He is a
goes
creepy
right up in
champion.
there with Lisa Salters, thinking that they're on the dais and he's just talking to her.
He owns the
How
Rams.
unsettling.
He owns the Avalanche.
He's had practice.
He owns sports right
He
now.
owns
He
the
really
Nuggets.
does.
He owns Arsenal too, doesn't
Owns
he?
Yeah,
Arsenal,
they had a
yeah.
bounce
but
back
they
season.
don't win
Yeah.
though.
Don't
But they
forget
had a bounce
about
back.
don't forget about Mammoth.
That's right.
They're champions too.
Kroenke's winning at life, man.
Dude, what was up with that?
but
like
it's creepy.
I mentioned, he had practice. He knows how these things go. Why is he whispering into Lisa Salter's ear?
Also, technically, he's not the owner of the Nuggets because of the NFL stupid rule.
Yeah,
about
Josh,
you
right?
can only, so Josh should have been the one who got the trophy and did the talking, and Stan should have been in the back talking to Lisa Salters the way he wanted to, off mic.
It's a great rule, by the way. You can't own a bunch of different things. It sucks. Pick one team, represent that, and do fine. Like capitalism, man. So I went to the road rally at the Heat's arena, and I realized that there are incredible fans here in Miami. And you know what ruins it? It's the fact that they're money hungry, so that they charge a bunch of money for all the lower bowl seats, and the good fans don't get to be there. Because I was there and I was like, this is Miami. Like, this is the real fan base that everyone makes fun of. They're a real strong fan base that comes out to a game that they know they're going to lose, and they cheer really hard and have a good time.
Those are the people, though, who, not all of them, obviously, many of them are just diehards, but they are actually grateful to be able to get into the arena at a reasonable price to love their team and celebrate with their team instead of watching on television.
What ruins it is Ryan Cortez. I mean,
and Mike Ryan. Though, before we get back to what Mike Ryan felt being blocks away here and whether it felt like real menace and threat to go over there and have a hairy, damp belly because of how swamp humid it is. You were in Denver last night, and what were your big takeaways? The post-game show is in the feed if you want good and serious analysis with some fun about better basketball analysis than we've done here with Tom Haberstroh and Assortment, the basketball consortium of people who are super knowledgeable. But what were your takeaways from being in the middle of it?
Well, first of all, as everyone saw, it was an awful basketball game. It reminded me of Game 7, 2010, Lakers-Celtics.
It reminded me of Data 5000 Kimbo Slice.
Terrible. It was a show of a basketball game. Hard to watch. If I were someone who didn't care about either one of those two teams, I would have turned my television off. I don't want to watch everyone miss all the time.
I think Mike Breen described it vividly as, this is mayhem.
There was a point where I tweeted facetiously, the Heat are trying to test whether you can win an NBA Finals game shooting under 40%. And then it got lower, and they actually took the lead. When Jimmy Butler hit that shot to go up one with under 3 minutes or so, they were shooting 35% from the field at that point, and worse from three-point range, and weren't getting to the free throw line. And I just sat there, and the whole night, whether they were up or not earlier in the game, everyone felt like Denver was just kicking their ass. Everyone felt that the whole way. And at that moment, I said, oh, crap, are they going to really do this? Because I felt for the first time, no, that's not fair. You guys don't get to win this one, not the way you played. Like, there's no part of this that felt gritty or like they pulled it out. It just felt like a gift from heaven. 2 3-pointers, 3 free throws, and a short jumper. Like, that shouldn't have happened. It made the game ridiculously close for no reason. But seeing that shot from KCP, seeing that shot from Michael Porter Jr., those shots for guys who had struggled all series long, those are big shots, and those are big moments that they're going to take with them forever. And Greg's looking at the clock, yes.
No, what clock?
Yes.
I enjoyed that. Am I the only one that enjoyed the mayhem? I guess it's when
I
see
thought they
panic,
should have let Zeller out there with an actual hatchet. Like, let's just take our chances. Because what you're trying to do is you're trying to cut down an excellent tree with a machete. Just send with the will of the Miami Heat.
By the way, I just want to point out that Dan Le Batard's post-game analysis after Game 4 was injure the Giant. He called for Jeff Gillooly and a tire iron.
10 seconds, Greg. So what did you think of the game, Greg?
What? You're coming to me to ask? I don't know. What game? I didn't watch it.